Hey everyone, this is Nishat, and in today's video you're watching the review of One Arranged Murder by Chetan Bhagat. So Chetan Bhagat recently started writing detective novels, and this is like the second book in that very genre, the first one being The Girl in the Room 105. If we see both of these books, then we would find that the One Arranged Murder is kind of similar to the previous book, and we can say that it's like the very sequel of that book, because the way the two stories proceed, the way the investigation proceeds, along with the two recurrent characters Keshav and Saurav, we can say that the stories are kind of similar. What we get to see is like these two amateur detectives are kind of finding the the victim, kind of finding the perpetrator of the crime, and that's these two stories are all about. But if you see at the later part of this story, the One Arranged Murder by Chetan Bhagat, you would find that it's completely different, and it has it has a unique plot, it has a unique climax within itself, and it's far way better than the previous book. Nevertheless, if you have not read the previous book, The Girl in the Room 105, then it's not going to be a very big deal if you are reading this book first. And that's all. You won't find any problem while reading this book. Now, talking about the plot, we see that in this story, we are going to find out two characters, Keshav and Saurav, whom we have already seen in the previous book, The Girl in the Room 105. Now these two characters are best friends, they are colleagues, and they run a detective agency. But इस स्टोरी में हम देखते हैं कि ये दोनों बात नहीं कर रहे एक दूसरे के साथ. They are not at good terms with each other. ये इसलिए क्योंकि केशव को सौरभ की जो फियांसे है वो पसंद नहीं है. सौरभ की फियांसे प्रेरणा, जो कि एक fat, wealthy and healthy girl hai. Saurav doesn't like this very girl named Prerna, and at the same time he feels that because of Prerna, Saurav is kind of ignoring Keshav, he's ignoring his own work, and Keshav is infuriated at this. Now Keshav all the times he body shames Prerna because she's a foodie and she is very fat. So and one day he said something out of his league, and that infuriated Saurav, and we can see that they are not at good terms with each other. Now talking about Saurav and Prerna's arranged marriage, let me tell you, their marriage basically. They have been put in this arranged marriage, and they're very happy with each other. Maybe because they're of the same kind. They love to eat, they're very humble, and they're very fat. Talking about Prerna, Prerna is a very sweet, humble, docile girl who could turn out to be a very devoted wife, who would be very meek, बहुत submissive होगी और अपने husband से बहुत प्यार करती. In the story we find that Prerna is so much in love with Saurav that she actually keeps a Karva Chauth broth for him, a broth or like a fast which only married women can keep for their husband. And that's her sweetness. Because she loves him, she does all these things for Saurav. How sweet. अब प्रेरणा सौरभ को अपने घर बुलाती है in order to break her fast. But as Saurav reaches there, he finds out that Prerna is missing from the scene. He just can't understand where she has gone. But just few minutes later, he finds out that Prerna is dead. The people out there, basically the neighbors and Prerna's family members, they believe that Prerna died because she slept from the terrace. उन लोगों को लगा कि सारा दिन फास्ट करने के बाद उसे चक्कर आया and she slept off. But the police and Saurav and Keshav, they basically believed that Prerna was being pushed. That was not at all an accident. It was all arranged. It was rather a murder. Now, we as readers would find out how these two amateur detectives, along with the police, would find out the very culprit, and it would be very interesting to find out the motives and other things in the story. So that's all about the plot. ये तो होगी स्टोरी. अब बात करते हैं the things that are present in this story or in this book. So जो मैंने notice किया is that just like any typical Chetan Bhagat book, in this book also you're going to see Indianness, a lot of Indianness. And इस बुक में हम देखते हैं कि चेतन भगत ने पंजाबी फैमिली को बहुत अच्छी तरह से रिप्रेजेंट किया है एंड एनी इंडियन आउट देयर वुड बी एबल टू रिलेट विद इट बेटर, क्योंकि जो वर्ड्स यूज़ किए गए हैं, जो रिचुअल्स के बारे में बात किया गया है एंड लाइक द फैमिली कल्चर एंड एवरीथिंग, दैट इज़ वेरी गुड. एंड आई पर्सनली लाइक दिस थिंग about Chetan Bhagat's book, that he gives a lot of emphasis when it comes to Indianness, when it comes to giving a very much importance to your culture. Talking about the way the story goes on, the story is very fast paced. After 20 to 25 pages, you would see that the story has entered into the main part of the book, that is the murder of Prerna. And I believe that's very good as far as a detective story is concerned, but जो intensity है वो तब भी build नहीं होती. And I completely didn't like it. Actually didn't like the fact that Chetan Bhagat is decreasing the importance or the intensity of suspense and all after he has already introduced the crime. He has already introduced the very fact that Prerna is murdered, and it's high time for police to catch the criminal and all. But after that very plot, we see that things turn out to be normal, and Chetan Bhagat gives much more emphasis to other things as well, like Prerna's family and all, and I didn't like that fact. ये जो स्टोरी है ना, आपको ये बॉलीवुड मूवी की तरह लगेगी, क्योंकि यहाँ पर ड्रामा, थ्रिलर, रोमांस सब कुछ देखने को मिलता है. सो यू वुड फील लाइक एज इफ यू आर रीडिंग अ स्क्रिप्ट ऑफ अ मूवी. And that's it is. It's not very realistic. At the same time, it's not something unrealistic, but it has all the Bollywood masala tarka. Talking about possible suspects, we see कि पहले इंस्टेंस से ही sort of suspect बन जाता है for the whole story, because he was the one who met Prerna last, and he was the one who actually met her in secrecy. So इसके बारे में किसी को भी नहीं पता था. But as the story proceeds, we find that all of the members of Prerna's household, they turn out to be these possible suspects. Obviously, the suspect is, or like the murderer is someone else, but obviously they are all possible suspects. Things that I like about this book, obviously, एक चीज़ जो मैंने notice की इस book में is like Chetan Bhagat is like kind of focusing on the very practice of taking dowry. हमारे समाज में हम अभी भी बोलते हैं कि हम दहेज नहीं लेते हैं, बट इन दिस बुक वी फाइंड आउट दैट डाउरी इज़ so prevalent in our society, and it should be stopped, I believe. And he has given a very strong message through the portrayal of how dowry has been taken in this very book. Other thing that I noticed in this book is Chetan Bhagat is emphasizing on the fact that you don't have to pretend, and pretension, hypocrisy is in our blood. इस स्टोरी में हम देखते हैं कि दोनों families, whether it's Saurav's family and Prerna's family, they are both flawed, but they are predicting a lot. They're showing to world that they are good family with no past history, and they are completely clean in their characters. Chetan Bhagat is saying that problems हर एक family में होते हैं, but it doesn't mean that you have to pretend in front of society that you are a perfect family. After all, society is going to find out your flaws, and they are going to talk about it, they are going to gossip about it. So there is nothing to hide anything. Problems हर एक family में होते हैं, झगड़ा हर एक family में होते हैं. There's no need to pretend. And I like that fact that he is emphasizing that pretension is obviously not something very good. Talking about things that I didn't like about this book is like how Chetan Bhagat portrays women. I don't know what is his problem with women. I would like to say that if you have already read his previous book, The Half Girlfriend, you would be aware of how he portrays women. He portrays them as this derogatory and objectify them. इस बुक में हम देखते हैं कि केशव जो कैरेक्टर है वो कॉन्स्टेंटली प्रेरणा को बॉडी शेम करता है एंड आई जस्ट डोंट लाइक इट. लाइक व्हाई बॉडी शेमिंग अ गर्ल? Just because she is a fat woman doesn't mean that you would get the liberty to body shame anyone or any women out there. एक फ्लॉ होना, खुद में एक फ्लॉ होना, इट्स नॉट अ बैड थिंग, इट्स नॉट अ रॉन्ग थिंग, एंड इट्स ऑल अप टू हर. अगर वो खाना पसंद करती है देन इट्स ऑल अप टू हर. We are no one to judge her. Now, some of you may tell me that maybe he did it in order to do a kind of comic relief in order to decrease the seriousness of the story. Or maybe you could say that Keshav's anger with Prerna was justified because of only Prerna Saurav started ignoring him. But I don't feel like कि एक कोई justification होता है किसी भी लड़की को ऐसे body shame करना. That's not right, I believe. Talking about the language of the book, just like any other Chetan Bhagat book, this book also has a very sorted language. Sometimes colloquial Hindi is added, as we know, and it's very simple. Language is very simple. There is no kind of sophistication, and it's very ideal for readers who are, I won't say ideal, like it's good for beginners, I believe, because of the language. Now, talking about who can read this book, those people who are starting off with English novels, जो कि एकदम beginners है English novels में, they can obviously check out this book. This book has a very simple language, and basically all those people who are starting off new with this detective genre and they have not read a lot of detective books and they are not well acquainted with detectiveness and all, then they should read this book, or I would say suggest you to read this book because it has a very simple sorted story. And don't expect something exceptional from this book. You won't find anything like James Patterson or Agatha Christie or like Sherlock Holmes in it, but it's going to be a very good read for all those people who are a new beginner in this very genre of detective novels. Now, talking about who should skip this or who can skip this book, I believe all those people who just want sophistication in language, all those people who have read a lot about detective books, like they're voracious reader and they are they just expect a lot from detective books, then obviously you can expect can skip this book because a story बहुत simple है and you won't find it very interesting if you have read a lot of detective books already. Okay, so that's all for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and please let me know in the comment section what are your opinions about this book. And I will meet you in the next video. So till then, stay safe. Bye bye.